All right, 1:14 this afternoon here in East Texas over in Tyler. Right now, we're about to show you live images right now of reporters out and about. We have a crew standing by as well as Governor Greg Abbott is set to make one of his first campaign stops for his campaign over in East Texas. This is going to be at ETX Brewing Company, a local restaurant near downtown Tyler. If you aren't familiar with this area, we do have crews all out and about, both inside and outside. Governor Greg Abbott set to take the stage here in about 15 minutes. On your screen right now, you can see local state representatives and state senators, as well as they will be with Governor Greg Abbott as that starts here in a little bit. We also have demonstrators out and about. We have a full stream for you this afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us here on CBS 19 Plus. I'm Jesus Martinez. Just days after announcing he was running for re-election, Governor Abbott is already hot on that campaign trail. One of his first stops is right here in the Rose City. Abbott has served as governor since 2015, and he's inviting East Texans today to join him for a conversation about his plan to empower taxpayers. Now, this event, as I mentioned, starts in about 15 minutes or so if all goes to schedule over at ETX Brewing Company near downtown Tyler. We have team coverage this afternoon. CBS 19's Robert De La Garza is covering the expected protest outside. But first, let's start with Ayana Aird. Ayana, we were on the phone earlier. You told me that the doors opened about 30 minutes ago, and it's already really packed out there. What can we expect from the governor today?
Right now, I am inside ETX Brewing, and right now it's honestly shoulder to shoulder. It's really packed in here. The crowds are starting to fill in and move in as we're 15 minutes away until Governor Greg Abbott is set to speak about his 2026 re-election campaign. Now, if he is re-elected, he will become the longest-serving governor in Texas history. He'll be serving his fourth term in Texas. So Governor Greg Abbott did announce his re-election bid during an event in Houston on Sunday. His campaign is centered around several key priorities, including lowering property taxes and giving homeowners more control, continuing to grow the Texas economy, securing the border, and supporting law enforcement, among other initiatives. As governor this past year, one of his top priorities was expanding the school voucher programs, a plan that was passed back in September. Now, this is one of his first campaign stops in Texas. I was told tomorrow he'll be in Temple, but yeah, this is one of his first stops here in ETX Brewing. Like I said, it's really packed. They're still setting up for the governor to come in and start his campaign rally. And as you can see over there, he has a sign up that kind of gives a breakdown of the 5 steps to overhaul the property tax system, which is one of the key priorities he has ahead of his 2026 re-election campaign. Again, in about 15 minutes, he is set to speak at his rally, and tomorrow he will be at Temple, but this is one of his first stops after he announced his re-election campaign in Houston on Sunday. Jesus, back to you.
All right, Ayana. Thank you so much, Ayana. I know that it's very packed out there. Not a big building for those that aren't familiar to it out there. Just outside that building, we have Robert De La Garza as well. Robert, we spoke to you about maybe an hour ago for the noon show. Wasn't really a big crowd out there, but I can see off the corner of my eye there's a big crowd out there right now. How's it looking?
Yes, sir. I mean, just before we got in at that noon o'clock show, there were just a couple of people piling in, but as of right now, I mean, you can see we're right in the thick of this protest that's currently going on. People are shouting, no more ICE. You know, they're talking, and they're kind of, this is just comes a day after the counter protests in downtown Tyler, whenever protesters were combating against that 287G program that Smith County officials have been correlating with the federal government with at this point. But county officials have defended at this point. Just last week, Smith County Sheriff Larry Smith said that his deputies are not profiling people. And we also spoke with Tyler Police, who confirmed that they will be at today's event. There will be a heavy presence. DPS and Tyler Police will both be on the site, assisting both inside and outside the press conference. So I'm going to go ahead and have Will kind of, if you can take a look, you can see just moments ago we had some police officers line up this tape just to kind of keep people outside of, on the sidewalk outside of property of ETX Brewing. They were starting to pile in. Let's go ahead and kind of just look around. I mean, there are, like we said, we started with a couple dozen people early on, but right now we're getting close to those hundreds of numbers here at this point. Like we said, these are people who are just kind of talking about family rights. I mean, these who all they want to do is just have. But I mean, overall, it's just a great turnout here. I mean, just a a lot of energy overall, Jesus, but I'm going to go ahead and toss it back to you.
All right, Robert, thanks so much. Lots of crowds out there. You know, they were out there yesterday as well. Right now, Governor Greg Abbott is inside ETX Brewing Company. He's sitting alongside East Texas State Representative Daniel Alders as well. Let's go ahead and listen in.
Texas House and the Texas Senate, and I'm proud to sit here at this table with my colleague from the upper chamber, Senator Brian Hughes, and I'm going to turn the mic over to him.
Thank you, Representative. Thank you very much. Thank you so much. Well, I know the answer, but I'm going to ask you, are you glad to be in Tyler today? Yeah. I am too. We are glad to be out of Austin and back in Texas and back in Tyler. And so it is good to be home. It's good to be home. And speaking of home, you probably know this, but our governor, who we're going to hear from in just a moment, was born just down the road in Longview. Did y'all know that? He was born and grew up in Longview, just down the road. You know he was an East Texan, and it shows in the way he operates, the way he leads. You know what's been happening in our country. You know that when our border was being overrun, literally overrun, with no help from the feds, Texas held the line. Governor Greg Abbott held the line. You know that when this crazy, evil idea that men should be in women's restrooms, in little girls' locker rooms, that boys should compete in girls' sports, Texas held the line. Governor Greg Abbott held the line. You know this. You know this. When our energy in Texas, which provides good, high-paying jobs, good standard of living for our people and for our country, when that was under attack from all sides, Texas held the line, and Governor Greg Abbott held the line. We could say more, but you know, as governor, he presides over the 9th largest economy in the world. If Texas were her own country, it would be the 9th largest economy. That usually gets some amens, I know. And of course, millions of jobs added during Governor Abbott's leadership, making sure Texas is pro-people, pro-growth, pro-family. You know that he was our excellent Attorney General who set the record for suing the Obama administration, and as governor, he has led and grown and blessed Texas families. You also know that he and Celia have been married since 1981. Isn't that something? That's only 44 years. And daughter Audrey, so proud of her, and many things we could say about him, but I'll ask you a couple of questions. Are you glad to have Greg Abbott in Tyler today? Are you glad to have a governor? Me too. Are you glad to have a governor who stands up, even if he's alone, and stands up for Texas and for our values? Well, I am too. Please join me in welcoming our friend, our fellow East Texan, and our governor, Greg Abbott.
Well, thank you to Senator Hughes for his kind words and to Representative Alders for what he's done. We also have with us Representative Hefner, Representative Money, Representative Dean, and Representative Schaffner, all of whom had remarkable sessions this past session. They delivered on so much, making Texas even bigger and even better. There's somebody else I want to recognize, and that is, do you call it ETX or East Texas Brewing? What do you call the name of this company? ETX. So we're here at the home of ETX Brewing. Give it up for our host here today. So there's really something more I want to say about them, but I got to set it up appropriately. You know, one thing that Senator Hughes talked about is the Texas economy. And I got to tell you this, there's no economy in America that's doing better than the Texas economy. Texas ranks #1 for the most new jobs. #1 is the best state for doing business. #1 for corporate headquarters and relocations and just a growing enterprise. We're #1 for cattle and cotton, for oil and gas. The list goes on. Under my leadership, the economy for Texas, the gross domestic product, has grown to more than $2.7 trillion a year. It's grown so fast that even Senator Hughes has a hard time keeping up with it because actually Texas now has the 8th largest economy in the entire world. But the reason why I bring this up, and again in the context of ETX Brewing Company, when people hear me talk about the economy, they often think I'm talking about like big business or something like that. Most of the businesses in Texas are small businesses. They represent more than 95% of all businesses in this state, and we support our small businesses in the state of Texas. There are more than 3 million businesses that are registered to do business in the state. By the way, that's double the number when I took office. But it's small businesses like this one that are leading the way in the large number, and most of those 3 million registered businesses. So what we did this session, we knew that small businesses are the backbone of our economy, and we passed laws to cut all the red tape and to lower the cost of doing business for our small businesses in the state. So it sounds like we have the owner of ETX Brewing Company. I'm going to mention something that he may give me an amen to. So the way Texas tax laws work is businesses like this, they have to pay what's called a personal property tax on items that are in their stores. Like if they have tables or chairs, which would normally be here, they would be taxed upon that. You see this beer-to-go cooler and that rack over there, they pay taxes on personal property like that. They have it in their location. When I became governor, there was an exemption on a certain amount they had to pay taxes on. It was an exemption on the first $500. Well, to be honest, that would be like one table and 4 chairs or something like that. Not a whole lot. Because of what we passed this session and what you voted to approve last Tuesday, that's gone from $500 when I took office to now $125,000 a year. It's going to put more money into the pockets of this business owner, maybe help him buy some more tables, buy some more chairs, add some more employees, grow the business, whatever. But we believe that money is better spent in the hands of our business owners as opposed to the hands of government, and that's what we delivered for our small businesses in Texas.
Amen. Amen.
I could go on all day talking about everything that we did this past session. I want to take a moment to talk about reforms I think are needed going forward. One thing that is a reality that we need to recognize, and that is there are affordability challenges that our fellow Texans face. It doesn't matter if you live in Tyler, Texas, Longview, Texas, Dallas, Texas, South Texas, or in the Panhandle. There are affordability issues. And one of the leading affordability issues is housing. It costs too much in housing. And what is the lead driver of that affordability issue? It's your property taxes. You pay too much in your property taxes. Is there anybody here who thinks they don't pay enough in property taxes? There's some people outside who think they should pay higher property taxes. Which is why they're outside and not inside. But listen, I want you to know I have 5 solutions that will ensure that we're going to resolve the property tax issue. Before I go into them, I need to give you the context. The context is, listen, everybody you're looking at here on stage right now, we did extraordinary things this past session to address property taxes in Texas. We devoted more of the money that we had in our budget toward reducing property taxes than any state's ever done in the history of the United States of America. We dedicated $51 billion to reduce your property taxes. And you're going to see that on your next property tax bill. But I can tell you right now what I think you may already think, and that is that will improve your next property tax bill, but what's going to happen to the one after that, the one after that, the one after that? Because what you've seen in the past is those property taxes just keep going up, and that's taking money out of your pocket. I'm here today to keep more money in your pocket. So here's what we got to do. And to do it, we all need to come together and agree on a fact that will surprise some people here. The fact of the matter is the state does not impose a property tax. The only property taxing authorities are at the local level. So knowing that, one way that you stop property tax increases is you stop the spending that leads to property tax increases. Yes. If you had no increase in spending, you would not have any increases in property taxes. So know this, the state already has 5 legal limits that limit the ability for us to increase spending. The same must be true for every jurisdiction that imposes property taxes. They must live within their means, just like you have to live with your means. So priority number 1 is stop the excessive spending, contain it by imposing limits on how much they can increase your spending. Item 2, and that is, listen, sometimes you get a property tax increase without even knowing about it, without even having a say in it. That should not happen. You should have a say in everything that's going to affect your ability to stay in your own home. So I want to require 100% of every property tax increase must not only be voted on, but must be approved by 2/3 of the people who go vote in that property tax. And the next one is really going to amplify what my overall message is. The overall message is we need to take property taxes out of the hands of the taxing jurisdictions and put that into the hands of the people. We'll do that with that 2/3 vote. Here's another way we can do it. Have you ever gotten your property tax bill and think, man, that's too high? That should go down. I want to give you, the people, the ability to vote on rolling back your property tax rates. You can achieve your own property tax cut. The way I propose it could be changed, but the way I propose it is if 15% of the people, say in Tyler, Texas, you say you get 15% of the registered voters to sign a petition, you have a petition on the ballot to roll back your property tax rates and have an immediate cut in your property taxes. Next thing, I know from talking to so many Texans that when they receive their appraisal bill in the mail and they put their hands on that, their hands are quivering, afraid to open up that piece of mail, afraid of the large number they are going to see in their appraisal. That must stop, and it must stop this next session. Here's 2 reforms for appraisals. 1, there's no reason for you to have to go through that appraisal process every single year. You get your appraisal, you protest it, all that kind of stuff. As opposed to having an appraisal given to you every year, that should be reduced to only 1 time every 5 years. Second, the way Texas law works right now, your appraisal can go up to as much as 10% a year. That's one reason why you see affordability issues. That has to be stopped also. We must cap that not at 10% a year, but lower that cap to no more than 3% a year for your appraisal. And then last, if you pay your property tax bill, you know that the largest part of your property tax bill is your school district property tax. That's what's forcing so many people out of their homes. That property tax should be reduced to 0, and importantly, it should be the voters who have a right to vote on a constitutional amendment to eliminate the school district property tax in Texas. These 5 policies, these 5 solutions combined will ensure you're going to be able to live in your home the rest of your life and truly own your own home as opposed to renting it from government. I need to get this done. Let's go back in time. Some of you will remember in the last election, I said the time has come for Texas to pass education freedom choice for every parent and every child across the entire state of Texas. I said there was an easy way to do it or a hard way to do it. And the legislature took the hard way, and we went on the campaign trail and we elected enough votes to get it done. I'm committed to doing the same thing with regard to property tax reform. I am going to make this my primary point. I'm going to make it across the state, and we can do this the easy way or the hard way, but I can guarantee you we are going to get the laws passed that finally end your property tax problems here in the state of Texas. I'm going to put my name on it. I think it's right over here. Here we go. Sorry about injury report. We got a sub. Come in. There we go. These are my 5 proposals right here. I'm committed to getting this done. And I'm putting my name on it. Let's fight. Yeah. I'll take a few questions.
Governor, when it comes to voters having a chance to vote on abolishing school property taxes, how will school districts be funded alternatively?
Sure. Well, first of all, the school districts will be funded by the state of Texas. If you go back to the reductions in let's say the increases in the homestead exemptions that just passed this November, that homestead exemption means less money will be going from local property taxes to schools. Instead, the state makes up the difference, and that's what would happen here.
How will the state get more tax money?
Sure. Well, so a very good question, and that is, to be honest, that should be up to the voters or up to a meeting or discussion among legislators. There's a lot of possible solutions to come up with the resources needed. I'll give you just one, a possibility. If you look at, say, just the last 4 years, the budget surplus we've had each of the past 4 years exceeds the amount it would cost to eliminate any school district property tax in the state of Texas. So that would be one possible way without raising a single penny more in taxes whatsoever. But I think, to be fair, the solutions should be something that we visit with voters about as well as members of the legislature.
What excessive spending are you wanting cities to cut back on that's leading to the high property tax?
So let me just give you one example, and that's because as governor, I live in Austin, Texas, and I see what they do. So if you look at the population of Austin, Texas, for the past 10 years, the population number has remained flat, and yet property taxes have gone up 70%. They're spending far more per person than they did 10 years ago, 5 years ago, whatever the case may be. And it's up to these local jurisdictions to decide where the cuts are. Again, in Austin, Texas, there was a proposition on the ballot this November where they tried to raise property taxes. 2/3 of the voters voted against it, and now they're having to go through that decision-making process about what they cut. Let me be clear about one thing that is not subject to being cut. A few years ago, there was a movement across the country and even in places like Austin and a few other cities in Texas, this defund the police movement. Let me tell you something. In Texas, we support our law enforcement officers, period. In the 2021 legislative session, I led the campaign to make sure we would not have cities defunding their police, and I signed a law that will defund any city that defunds their police.
Yeah, that's right. Governor, you have a lot of state reps here, lawmakers, and senators. Are you confident you have the support from the legislature to get these goals achieved? Because that's going to be necessary.
Sure. So I don't know of anybody in the legislature who doesn't want to reduce property taxes. And so we're starting in a good spot. And this is something they'll have the opportunity to learn about and to embrace. All I can tell you is what I told you earlier in my remarks, and that is I have a proven record that when I adopt an issue and when I insist that issue gets passed, I'm willing to do what it takes to make sure we're going to have the legislators in office who will vote in favor of the program that I'm promoting. And that's the same type of campaign I will be waging on cutting property taxes in Texas.
Property taxes being lowered, how would cities be able to pay for like their roads and their law enforcement and their fire departments?
Sure, yeah. So the way cities are able to pay for what their needs are for the residents is the same way that you and families here go through their spending process decisions. And that is, they can't just go buy anything they want. They have to buy their priorities first and maybe their wants after that. Cities have to begin that process also. In other taxing jurisdictions, there is so much excessive spending taking place, and that must be reined in and fund what needs to be funded, and then only after that, fund your wants.
There are lots of protesters outside. What do you say to them?
I think, candidly, if they were inside, hearing me talk about cutting their property taxes, they would be cheering right at this very moment. Thank you very much.
All right, that was Governor Greg Abbott taking the stage just a couple of minutes earlier than we expected. Talked about his campaign and his overhaul of the tax system here in the state of Texas. Just to recap some of the things he mentioned on that. And we really got a first look at what that overhaul will look like since launching his campaign on Sunday. Some of them include for cities and local jurisdictions to have common sense local spending and giving more power to the people, Texans that is, over their taxes, requiring a 2/3 of approval for any tax increase, also empowering voters to roll back on their own taxes, whether it be locally, county level, and also create an appraisal predictability and cap appraisal growth. And also a big one here is eliminate school property tax for homeowners. Now, to make up for that money, Governor Abbott mentioned that the legislature has actually had a surplus in money the last couple of sessions that he says he's really not worried about that, honestly. And he also mentioned local businesses. Obviously, Governor Abbott right there at one of our local businesses here in Tyler, ETX Brewing Company. He boasted that local businesses really lead the way for the Texas economy, saying that their number one, that is their number one driving force is the local economy for the state of Texas. He talked about House Bill 9 as well, which would exempt up to $125,000 of a business's inventory from being taxed. That's up from $500. That's all thanks to House Bill 9, which passed this last legislative session. He also talked about the protesters outside. He invited them to come inside and to just hear him out. And we want to get to Robert De La Garza out there. He's been all afternoon with those protesters outside. Robert, Governor Abbott just wrapped up inside. How's it looking outside? We could hear those chants from Governor Greg Abbott's microphone inside.
As he's wrapping up his speech inside, I mean, this protest doesn't seem like it's dying down anytime soon. I mean, if you kind of just look behind me, there's hundreds of protesters here, as was similar to yesterday, and they're stretching down the block. I mean, ETX is right there in the middle. They're stretching down both sides of the block. They're staying on that sidewalk right now. We did see officers kind of put some yellow tape in order to keep them off the property of ETX Brewing. And these protests right now, I mean, this is sparked by recent immigration detentions in Smith County's 287G program. People are calling this like racial profiling. You know, it's heartbreaking to see these Hispanic families. These are what protesters are saying. Lots of these kids they can't be judged by the color of their skin. And county officials for Smith County have already denounced that they are not racially profiling at this moment. So I know we did have Tyler police here on the scene today. They can see them. They've kind of blocked down a lane of this traffic here going downtown. But we had the chance to speak to some protesters here ahead of this crowd just getting so crazy. Let's go ahead and listen in on that interview.
Everybody deserves a level of respect. And as we've seen in the national news over and over again, ICE does not respect anyone. And we want you all to have the rights of life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, to live in your home, to not lose your property, to not be deported to Mexico, even though you've never spent a day of your life in Mexico.
And that's just what this protest has been about. I mean, they've been out here all afternoon chanting, "No more eyes, Greg Abbott's gotta go." And you can just hear and see the intensity of this crowd at this moment. Cars are going by, giving their support. They're kind of counteracting with that support, and it's just rallying them up even more. I mean, they have a lot of intensity. We've spoken to people on the scene who just say that they're tired of being profiled by these people in Smith County. We're talking about law officials, that is. But overall, I mean, big turnout here. This is similar to to some of the numbers that they saw yesterday at the protests to combat some of those immigration detainments that they've seen here in Smith County. They talked about 300 total yesterday. It looks like we're getting close to that. And they said a lot of this crowd is young. You can kind of see, I mean, Smith County is known to have a demographic of an older population here, but overall, we're seeing a lot of young faces. They said with those 300 people that we saw in the protest yesterday, at least 200 of them had to be some youth people of the younger crowd. But overall, I mean, you can hear the intensity going on. I mean, great turnout here, and just all for Abbott showing up and his support for the ICE in Texas. But overall, I'm going to pass it on to you, Jesus.
Robert, real quick, while I have you, I know there were some police units out there. You mentioned Tyler Police was out there blocking traffic. Have you seen any Tyler Police police officers out there in their crowd or sort of crowd managing by any chance?
I mean, overall crowd managing just to make sure that they are not on the property within the ETX Brewery, just kind of making sure they're staying on the sidewalk, the public sidewalk, and that they are being able to disperse that crowd up and down the street here, just so they're not getting onto any private properties. Otherwise, I mean, overall, this is a pretty peaceful protest, and police officers have had limited interactions with protesters.
And then, Robert, one more question. I know we had to move you guys across the street just so we can keep you guys safe as well. What are some of the signs that people are holding out there?
Yeah, I mean, you can go ahead and take a look at some right now. As I mentioned, there's a lot of vulgarity, but of course, no ICE. Greg Abbott's got to go. You can see some right now. I mean, you can hear some of those honks that they're getting. But overall, just kind of talking about ICE, that these people are family, that it's inhumane that some of the things that ICE is doing to these people. Stop racial profiling. You can just see some of those right now. A lot of Mexican flags out in the air. They want ICE out of Smith County. These are just some of the things. And you can see one right now before I sign off of here. Immigrants make America great. This is just all some of the messages that they are putting out there on their signs and telling us that they want to see change here in Smith County. Jesus.
All right, Robert, thanks so much. And just to recap what Robert was mentioning, those protesters are out there. Most recently, we've seen a lot of immigration arrests here in Smith County with that 287G program, which basically what it is, a couple of months back, Smith County and ICE entered this agreement saying, hey, if we stop someone over and they've committed a crime, we're going to process them if they are undocumented in this country. And most recently, we've seen a lot of those arrests. And just last week at Commissioner's Court, Smith County Sheriff Larry Smith talked about a reimbursement program, which is why all of this is coming up once again. Greg Abbott coincidentally coming in around that time as well. We have you on the air, also standing by inside ETX Brewing Company. Just a couple of minutes after Greg Abbott wrapped up his speech, and his pretty much tax overhaul system is what he's running on for this campaign for next November. Yana, what can you tell us?
Yeah, Jesus, well, Governor Greg Abbott just wrapped up his campaign rally, and he started off with talking about the Texas economy and how he's grown the economy for all the terms that he's been in office. He talked also about the property taxes and the affordability challenges that Texas was facing leading to the housing crisis. He also talked about how while he's been in office, he's been able to reduce property taxes by $51 million. And also his whole goal is to keep more money in your pockets for Texas residents. Those were the main points that he talked about here at his rally. He also listed 5 steps he's working on to lower property taxes. It starts off with the local government, and his plans are basically focused on this 2026 re-election campaign, is lowering property taxes as well as making the Texas economy more affordable and also growing the Texas economy. And he also talked about, obviously I'm in ETX Brewing, he talked about small businesses, how small businesses are the backbone of the economy, and he plans on obviously continuing to support small businesses and, like I said earlier, keep more money in property tax owners or Texas residents. But I'm going to toss it to, I spoke to a Texas resident earlier today who talked about why he's in support of Governor Greg Abbott and also talked about how he is in favor and will be voting for Governor Greg Abbott next election cycle.
I'm in favor of anybody that's doing a good job, stays in and does a good job. So I'm merit-based. He's doing a great job. I'll vote for him again.
And And they tell us also that tomorrow he will be in Temple, Texas for another campaign rally, and this was actually his first stop. He announced his 2026 re-election campaign Sunday in Houston, so his first stop was right here in Tyler at ETX Brewing. Again, tomorrow he will be at another campaign rally tomorrow in Temple. It was a good crowd out here. It was a lot of people who are in support of Governor Greg Abbott, and they also say they're in support of lowering property taxes, and that is his main top key priority that he spoke about at his rally this afternoon. Jesus, back to you.
Ayanna, I want to get a quick sense of how the crowd came in there. We were with you on the noon show. Things were pretty slow. Those doors opened at 12:45, and it filled up pretty quickly. What was the overall sense of support of people in there once Governor Abbott talked about lowering those property taxes?
Yeah, Jesus, there were a lot of cheers, a lot of people looking forward to, if he is reelected, what he'll do as far as what steps he will take to lower property taxes or work on that. So there was a lot of cheers, a lot of people in support of all the points that he made to lower the property taxes. Right behind him, he actually had a sign up, and you can't really see right now because he's taking pictures with people who came to support him, but it was 5 steps to overhaul the property tax system here in Texas. So there were a lot of cheers after every point he made, and they were disregarding, obviously what was happening outside. But he said the main point today was the property tax rate, 5 steps he plans to reduce those here in Texas.
And those chants outside, Ayanna, we were barely able to make them out over Governor Abbott's microphone. How loud were they inside ETX Brewing?
It was very loud in here. A lot of people are pumped up at his re-election announcement. A lot of people were very excited. A lot of people who are here in support of him are looking forward to his key initiatives and key priorities that he plans to make for his 2026 re-election campaign. And it was a good crowd out here. There's a lot of people. Again, a lot of people were just pumped up and excited. There were claps after every point he made. If you were watching out there on our stream on CBS 19 Plus, they were in favor. They were excited about all his 5 key points that he made to decrease housing property taxes in the state of Texas.
All right, Ayanna, thanks so much. We have those crews out there. We'll hear much more from them later on. Just to recap for you guys at home, Governor Abbott in Texas giving us a first look at the tax overhaul system that he's running on for next year. Just a quick overnote about these notes. He wants more common sense for local spending. It would require 2/3 of approval for tax increase, that is, from voters. And he wants to empower those voters to roll back on the taxes they have. Talking about how a lot of people are scared or nervous whenever they open those letters and see how much their appraisal taxes are. He also wants to create an appraisal predictability and appraisal cap growth for them. And a big one here that caught our eye was eliminate school property tax for homeowners. These are just of the 5 points which the Ayanna was talking about behind him. He actually took and signed it, putting pen to paper on the promise of his campaign for next year, which, by the way, if Governor Abbott is elected next year, he would be the longest serving governor in the state of Texas. We'll have much more coverage on this. We have Ayanna Aird and Robert De La Garza out there talking to more people and getting more information as Governor Abbott wraps up his first stop of his campaign here in Tyler. We'll see you at 5.